I'm not like,
All right.
I'm just a regular
Okay,
old trustee this year.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a short invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we thank Thee for the opportunity to come before the township residents this evening and transact business on their behalf. We ask that You lead us and guide us to make the right and appropriate decisions on behalf of our residents, and we ask that God bless America. Amen.
Amen.
Roll call.
Mr. Bryant?
Here.
Ms. Lees?
Here,
Mr. Beck?
he'll be here late.
Okay, I move approval of the agenda.
Second?
Roll call.
Mr. Bryant?
Aye.
Ms. Lees?
Aye.
Okay. No approval of minutes, no fiscal officer report, no presentations, no public hearings, no old business. New business. Boy, we just zipped right through this. I move approval of Resolution G 2023-15, a resolution declaring a 2008 Sutphen fire engine as surplus and authorizing and directing the sale of the same 2008 Sutphen fire engine to Miami Township, Hamilton County for $115,000 as is.
Second?
Discussion.
We're
You
not,
guys have any questions?
That was
Say
the
aye.
center of the estimated price, right?
Yeah,
Okay, and do we know, well,
they
as
don't
is.
have one. Yeah, they just take it. But
As is. You said we had, in the report, you said we had backups?
yes.
Okay, on both the city side and the township side? Okay.
And is it my understanding they're out of a truck?
Yes, they wrecked the truck and then they were borrowing one from their neighbors and the neighbors had to have it back.
Okay.
So
Well, that ought to drive the price up.
if the trustees approve this tonight, they want to try to pick it up as early as tomorrow. I know it is on their agenda at their board of trustees meeting tonight.
Okay, it is on their agenda? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You feel like it's fair, equitable deal?
I do, keeping in mind that, you know, there were 2 or 3 purchase orders that were waiting for the new year. So it's really more like $120,000 because there was $3,800 worth of new tires that would have been coming.
Oh, as is, so they're going to pick up that.
Right,
Got it,
more
okay.
on board and that, so that and the fact is the maintenance cost savings along with the insurance cost savings over the next 4 months, you're really probably getting closer to $130,000 for the truck.
Okay. And we only paid 200 and something for it, right? Back in that day.
Yeah.
And they're desperate, right?
Yes.
Yeah, all right.
So I'm happy.
Well,
to have-
we want to be good neighbors as best we can because reciprocity goes a long way.
It does,
Okay.
it does.
Any other discussion?
Nope.
Roll call.
Mr. Bryant?
Aye.
Ms. Lees?
Aye.
Okay. Move a discussion concerning projects and work for 2023.
Oh, second, sorry.
Okay. We just go into discussion, right? We don't have to approve
Yeah.
that? Okay, Kim, it's all yours, I guess. Thank you.
Thank you very much,
For both
trustees.
the path in and,
Appreciate you. Take care. See you.
Okay, so 2 things tonight. So we need guidance on whether or not if we can continue with a mowing contractor. If so, we would need to bid that out next month, like get an ad, take bids, and then award bids in March, because pretty soon after that, the growing season will start, probably like in April, where we'll start having to mow grass.
okay.
So I know in the past, we have had discussions about whether we continue with the mowing, whether we change the mowing, whether we only mow certain areas, and whether the township takes back over certain areas. What I did tonight is I asked Bill to come here and explain kind of like, you know, what they've done in the past, what they, what services that they do while the contractor's mowing. I provided mowing maps so that you guys can see all of the areas that are being mowed. And then there's also a sheet that is additional areas that the township employees mow. Now, they don't get mowed every week, but it's every 2 to 3 weeks when needed. And then we're also still mowing Camp Dennison Nature Trail, and then we're still mowing Shore Park. And then I provided you a list, looks like this. And it's basically a comparison of the park, how many acres, how many people it would take to mow it, if we did mow it, the cost. And like I was saying earlier, the costs in here do not include the cemetery because we've never mowed the cemetery. I mean, at least for what, 25 years since
Well, that
somebody else has always mowed it for us.
requires specialty, almost
Right.
equipment, doesn't it?
And one thing that I didn't think about that Bill pointed out earlier, it's every year we're mowing around more and more headstones. At least 35 to 40 headstones a year that we add, that you have to, factor those in as well. But right now, we currently pay River Oaks $51,480. That's what we paid them last year to mow the cemeteries.
And we don't know what their bid would be for.
No, we don't.
2023 going
I
forward.
mean, I'm assuming that everything's gonna go up exponentially just because we had a 2-year rate hike, or a rate
Freeze.
fix.
Freeze, yeah, okay.
So, and we all know that gas has gone up exponentially, so I would assume these bids are probably gonna be a lot higher than they were the last 2 years if we were to put it back out to mow, which is understandable. I mean, costs have gone up and they had to eat all those costs last year because they weren't able to raise the rates.
I've talked to several different landscapers, including the ones that we contract with, and everybody's looking at a minimum of 8% increase because of mowing, or because of fuel and labor costs.
Hello.
I mean, they have the same issues everybody else does with labor costs, trying to hire people, retain people, and that kind of stuff, so.
Okay. How does our current manpower status affect that? We're planning on replacing 2.
How are you?
What would we need to do the work? Well, maybe that discussion should come up after we figure out how we're going to cover it, right?
Because that's a good point, because right now we're down 2 people.
Right.
And then by summertime, we're probably gonna be down a 3rd person. So,
Or down 1 if we replace 2 by the summertime.
right, but it's my opinion, I just don't think there's enough people in that department to handle what they have to do every day. Because basically half of their day is spent cleaning shelters and bathrooms the first 5 days a week.
For the complete staff?
Yeah, it's 2 people, 4 hours a day is what has to happen to clean all those shelters and those bathrooms. So that only leaves the other half of the
We
Eight.
clean
day
those shelters every day.
2?
Yes.
2?
because people
Yeah,
trash
because,
them.
I mean, even if they're not rented, they're still used every day.
Yeah.
Takes longer on Mondays, right?
I have to
Yes.
start looking.
Okay, what was that number again? How many man hours to clean?
It would take 2 people 4 hours each day, and
Okay,
that's
so
what they
that's
do
8
first thing
hours.
in the morning.
8 hours a day. So that's 1 person.
2 people,
Well, it's 1
But
person,
it's-
8 hours.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I'm just counting heads.
yeah.
That's on an average.
So here's my thought. If we're spending, so we spent how much, $200,000 on grass cutting last year?
It was like 131, but that was only 26 cuts, so it was probably closer to 150, I think.
Oh, I
That's what we
thought
spent.
Joe said it was like 200.
That's with everything that we do. So that's with like the tree pruning, the insects, the fertilizing, all of that.
I
It was
would like
another-
to see some of this in-house. Like, I agree with not necessarily cutting the cemeteries. I think some of the areas we're cutting, you can do prairie lands with it, because that's like the new thing. I mean, there's lots of ways that you can not cut grass these days. So, I would like to take a look at like a company like the Nature Center. They do prairie, and so does the Great Parks. And So they've tried to avoid as much grass cutting as they possibly can because it is costly. So.
You just
I'd
let
like-
them go back natural,
Yeah.
basically, yeah.
But they plant like prairie flowers and like natural, that,
Pollinators.
yes, no, not a pollinator garden, but something to that effect, like yeah. So, yeah. And I would like maybe to hire some part-time employees in the summer to cut grass. Not all of it. I mean, I do think we need some of our grass cutting contracts, but I think we can do it a lot cheaper if we just hire somebody, a kid from college.
Another thing that factors into that equation is, do we have enough equipment if we're gonna do all this, or if we're gonna do more cutting than what we're currently doing? And what does the maintenance and those pieces of equipment entail?
We didn't get rid of any of our equipment when we quit mowing.
I know, but if we brought on more people, like part-time and so on and so forth, do we have enough equipment? Okay.
Well, if you think about it, if we're spending 150 on just the trees, the spray, I mean, you could hire somebody and tell them part of their job is they have to learn how to spray trees. They have to, this is what is the requirement to be employed. Well, you could hire basically 2 people.
But
And that's
then-
full-time work.
But then they have to be certified, you have
Yeah.
to be licensed to apply those chemicals.
Right,
That's what she's saying.
And then we have to assume the responsibility.
okay.
We are not assuming the responsibility if we farm it out?
And what does assuming responsibility mean?
If they mix the chemicals wrong, or if somebody gets hurt with the chemicals that they use, whether it be an animal or a person, the person applying it is the one that's responsible. They assume that liability.
Okay.
So that would be on the
There's
township.
a lot of moving parts in this equation.
Well, I know my son works for Great Parks, and I know part of their requirement is they have to be tree sprayers.
But are they certified tree sprayers, or are they, so you can do
Certified tree
you
sprayers.
can be a trained service technician, so it means you basically are working under somebody else's license.
Okay.
As long as they're within a certain, distance.
They have to be certified
that-
tree
is-
sprayers.
If we were to parcel something like that, could we work that way? Like we try and use the Loveland, or the Loveland Symmes Fire Department's auxiliary or whatever for liquor licenses and things like that? Could we contract with one company to do spraying in this area and then work under their license that would work in different
possible.
areas?
That's possible.
I mean, you know me, we just, I
that-
ask questions
think
all
of
night long,
options.
but
That's
it's just things to
That's
think
possible,
about.
because then you could work under their license and
Yeah,
could possibly use their equipment,
possibly. But right now, we have no equipment?
not for that type, no.
Okay, so that's another piece of the equation.
Yeah, but that's something that over the long time would pay for itself.
It's a capital outlay up front, and you save downstream, yes.
Or let me ask the question, you know how we have Brian and John do the trees? Is that something that has to be done every year,
We
or
could-
could it
we
be
could
done
go-
every other year?
That's what we're trying to do now, is try to get it to where we can phase it out to every other year.
Okay,
But in order to do that, you have to start the program, and then as the chemicals are applied, you have to add different chemicals to it in order to skip a year.
okay,
Okay.
And all that was come through, I mean, we started years ago when all the ash borer started, and we're trying to save all of our ash trees and save everything else, because
Well,
now there's every bug you can think of.
yeah, the ash trees are pretty much all gone.
Right, and now there are 2 and 3 other types of bugs that are attacking all the rest of the
I
trees.
hear you.
So far, I mean, we've been in pretty good shape as far as losing the young, mature trees.
Well,
Some of the older trees that are dying out, that's
Okay.
natural.
Jody brought up the tree spraying and so on. Another issue we have is the lawn landscape fertilization and so on. And that's something we can also look at doing in-house.
The lawn fertilization would be easier to do in-house because it's granule. So it's easier, and we do have some of the license already for that. We'd have to update a couple of, either me or Dave, which holds license, would have to update There's certain granule liquids, 2 different licenses, and depending on if you're doing what type of materials you're applying. But yeah, that would be something to be easier in-house. Rather than the liquids, it'd be easier to do the granules in-house.
Okay. And another factor is periodicity. How frequent? Can you do every other treatment or every other year or
Instead
something?
of going to instead of doing a 5, we could do a 3 or
Okay.
go to a 2.
Well, I know that we had not been doing Seven Gables Park for a while, and I brought it up because it was all dandelions. We treated it a couple times, and it looked one heck of a lot better. But then we were in a program which probably required, I'm assuming, 4 treatments a year.
I think most of ours last year were 3. They
Okay.
did add a couple.
But
because of
multiple
some-
treatments,
Right.
and it looked so good after the first couple treatments that it'd be nice if we could skip one here and there and save some money. That's my point. And you have to look at them, so we need
And
somebody that's looking at all.
Like Jody had mentioned, some of the areas going back to natural, those would be areas that you wouldn't have to treat anymore.
Right. I'm thinking, looking at this list, the very second one on this list for Montgomery Road across from Long Park, which is under the high power, or under that billboard, we could let that go natural, obviously.
That begs the question, so Bill, are there areas in certain parks that you could feel comfortable leaving in its natural state versus it being mowed? I'm not in the park every day, so I don't know how much of the park is occupied. Like on the weekends, on high volume days, like are there certain areas in like Symmes Park that we could just let it go back natural? I don't know if Seven Gables is one of those parks. I know Stonebridge and Hopewell probably not.
There's some areas at Mead and Symmes that would probably be the 2 easiest.
Okay.
That could go back to natural, but as long as we'd let everybody know what we're doing, so they don't think we're just skipping stuff.
Okay. Like
Like
areas
maybe put
that
up a sign or something that says,
do not mow.
yeah, or we're trying to do this natural habitat, blah, 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 whatever
Yeah.
program or.
Right. I'm thinking of areas that have either detention or retention ponds and so on. I'm thinking right now of Home of the Brave Park out near,
Yeah.
out near the road where we have the detention pond. Maybe there's areas around that we could let grow natural.
Well, Seven Gables is one of those parks too, because it's got that detention.
Yeah, we got all
Area.
the bulrushes down there.
Yeah,
right
the
now.
only-
That's about it.
That's the bad part, is if you don't mow them, then they start looking terrible.
Yes, I
So if you-
understand.
You try to maintain those, it makes it easier to
So could
maintain
you,
drainage.
and I hear what you're saying, but could you do it to where you only mowed it like once a
You could-
month
you could
or
do-
something?
Yeah, you could do every 3 weeks, 4 weeks, something of that nature.
Yeah, violate our own grass height requirement.
Yeah.
And then do we own a bush hog? Like if you would get to the point where we could?
Yeah.
Okay.
A sidearm mower anyway, right?
Well, we have a flail mower, which is basically the same thing as a bush
Okay.
hog.
Okay. Would that,
What,
would those 2 areas make you feel better, like the Mead and the Sims? Or do you feel, like in your opinion, are there other areas where you feel that?
Well, I mean, we could start there this year with those areas, but I would like to expand it more.
Okay.
I'd like to compliment you guys, Kim, you and Bill, on putting this material together, okay? Gives us a good overview, feeling, flavor, and so on. Jody and I have brought up some other areas to consider. I don't think we're at that point. You know, what's the timing, when to go out for bid, when?
Well, we would like for it to go to, like, advertise it in February so that we
Okay.
can take bids in March and then get something going, because we'll, by the time April rolls around,
How-
that's when
how
we'll
late
start
in
mowing out
February?
the grass.
We'd have to
It's gotta be
We'd have
pretty
to-
early in the month.
We'd have to open bids at the end of February
Yeah.
and have it awarded at the March meeting.
Okay.
Because they'd be mowing grass April
Okay.
1st.
So backing up from that, how much time does that give you guys to come up with a more cohesive plan as to what you really think you can accomplish?
I mean,
We just-
we'll
we-
have to do something by the next meeting then, February
Okay.
7th.
Is that achievable? Okay. 'Cause I think this is a great start, but, we're asking a lot of questions that maybe in the rush to put it together and so on, wasn't really thought through, or at least thought of the areas and what we can do in the different areas. And I think you're getting a feeling and a flavor for what we want to do going forward is we want to save money in this area. Looking at salaries and so on, we need, how many man hours it's going to take? I guess that's down here, isn't it? For this one color-coded chart. It's if we did it, how much it would cost?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's gonna take, I think I got in here 69 and a half hours, so it's almost 80 hours a week that it takes to mow all these areas. But I tried to put it in a schedule and it's tight. I mean, even with Dave, that would be with
Acres,
Dave
people,
mowing
hours.
and Jason and Jeff mowing. It's
Okay.
almost every day you have to mow something. There's
Okay.
very little room for downtime
Okay.
to do other things.
You'd actually have to have at least 2 guys that did nothing
Yeah.
but just mow.
Well,
Right, but
that's,
if-
with 69 and a half hours or whatever, that's what I see.
But if we hire a part-time person, that wouldn't affect them.
The problem with the part-time people is we start mowing in April, most of them don't get out of school till June.
Well, yeah, but you got UC kids.
And then you got, the reason we quit doing part-time before was because of the unemployment liability, you know. Once they're done with their season, they could apply for unemployment. And they would be eligible if,
Yeah.
and see, that's what a lot of the communities around here now are doing, like Miami Township, Mason, some of these places are actually hiring part-time people, working them their max 1,500 hours a year and paying them unemployment till they need them again.
Okay.
The only thing that saves you there is benefits.
What if you advertise for part-time all year round?
You could only work them 28 and a half hours a week if that was the case.
Or you'd have to keep track and make sure that if they did go
Yeah.
over the 28th, that as soon as they get their 1,500, you have to cut them off.
Yeah.
Because after that 15,
So let me ask you this while I got you in the room. So if, say we do this hybrid, and I know the cemeteries are one of the things you want to keep mowing or have the contractor mow. Are there any parks, because I know you and I have discussed maybe taking over Home of the Braves, Symmes, Royal, and maybe Mead. If we have, if township employees have to mow it, so then therefore that would leave Seven Gables, Blong, Hopewell,
Stonebridge.
and Stonebridge. That would be a contractor thing. So I'm
Yeah.
wondering if we could structure a bid to where we list, here's option 1 and here's option 2. You know, what would it cost to do everything versus just these over here?
We have the 2 fire stations that have to be added into that.
Oh, right, okay.
And then if you keep the cemeteries the way they are, that would be the cemeteries, Union Cemetery, the administration and the green space across the street was included in Union Cemetery's bid. So would that still stay with that contractor?
Yeah, I'm just, what I would want to do though is like do 2 different options, 2 different alternates. You could have alternate 1, alternate 2, and then just have them bid on each one to see what kind of prices we get. We might get a cheaper price if they get to mow it all versus just mowing some. And then while we're talking about right-of-way, so for the rest of all the right-of-way, like the Cannon, I-71, Montgomery Road, Hopewell, the Loma Madeira Islands, I-275,
In the corner at Hopewell and Loma Madeira.
okay, and then Heartland. So those are all, like, I think I had in here,
Heartland is just, that's just the
We mow-
flower trail or
We
whatever.
mow right along Kemper Road, and then we mow behind the residence. So there's like 2 passes back there to keep that from infringing on the residents there in Heartland. We've always mowed that, but the actual center area, we only mow that like once a month, once every 6 weeks.
so is it still true that it would take 2 people 2 days to mow all that right away? Like from the road through? Okay.
Day and a half to 2 days, just depends on how much garbage you have to pick up. For all intents and purposes, 2 days, yeah.
Okay. And just so you guys know, with 10 people, the way we used to do it is, but we'd have 5 people on the road and 3 people in the park, and then there was Bill and Ed. So if you're going to make the decision that we need to mow, which is fine, but I just don't think 3's enough. And
Right.
to get that done,
Totally.
Okay.
you would definitely need to hire more people
Right.
and put them in the park to get that task completed.
Could we outsource Ed's job?
Yeah, I mean, you could on parts. I mean, like he did all like the furnace filters and he did all the light bulbs, he did the cleaning. So I mean, we could have a cleaning service, like, is it completely clean that comes in and does the safety service
Yeah.
building? So we could probably have them do this building. And then, I don't know if Osterwich does like a program where they'll come in and change the furnace filters, if we could get a bid on that.
They could.
I don't know what you do for light bulbs, if you could have just one of the employees do it.
I mean,
What?
all that's possible. Yeah, the light bulbs, we try to do ourselves in-house.
For
Right.
what we paid him.
And then is there
No,
anything else that he did that I didn't mention?
All the plumbing. I mean, he did the safety center, this building, the service building next door, the meat house, park maintenance building. So all the buildings, Remington, every building that we own, he did all.
Just like the furnace filters though, right?
Everything. Furnace filters, plumbing, electrical, everything.
So then what do we hire Grundy to do? Because I know he's a plumber and we hire him quite a bit. So what's
anything-
the difference between what Ed did versus what Grundy does?
So as an example, we wouldn't have the electric snake to run through the plumbing pipes.
Okay.
We don't have that. So we would hire him to do that.
Okay,
The backflow valve testing, we don't have the equipment to test it and we're not certified, so you have to
Okay.
hire a company to do that.
okay.
So we just hired him to do things we couldn't do.
And can you give me an example of things that Ed did as far as plumbing?
Toilet repairs, like the flush valves, toilet leaks,
Okay.
toilets are sticking. Safety center, you have to do a lot of maintenance because with the water, the hard water, they lime up. So you have to do actual maintenance monthly on that. I took all the guys through the building last Thursday, and we went through about half of what was on the list of what he did on a regular basis. Those guys were amazed. They had no idea what all he did. So, I mean, you don't, unless you walk through it and see it, it's hard to explain. Like, as an example, we have ice machines at the safety center. So those have to be de-limed every 5 to 6 weeks.
So are you saying we need to hire a maintenance person?
Hire somebody that has some maintenance ability. I mean, they don't have to be a full maintenance person, but you have to have somebody that knows a little bit about electric, a little bit about plumbing, a little bit about HVAC. I mean, there's a lot of things that they do that it's kind of hard to sit and talk about without actually going and seeing it. You know, because it doesn't sound as time consuming as what it is. But
So how would you advertise that job? What would you call it?
to be honest with you, I wouldn't advertise it. I'd let one of the guys in-house do it. Because now they're getting
You gotta
familiar.
train them up, right?
Right. I mean, they're
Okay.
getting, you'd have somebody in-house do it, hire another entry-level person.
So who would you put in that position then?
First off, I'd have to see who would want it, because you have to have somebody who wants it, because it's not just a pull and replace type job. There's a lot of repair, taking things apart, fixing it. It's not just it's broke, let's order a new one. So there's a lot of actual repairs where you have to disassemble things, test them. We just did a ceiling heater at the fire station that the fan motor went out. So we had to actually test to see if it was the fan motor, if it was a circuit board, figure out what part it was, and actually order the right part to. And if you sub that out, I think the part cost us $100 and it took us 2 hours to fix. If you'd have subbed that out, that'd been a $500 repair. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things in-house that we do that saves a lot of money. Our own HVAC basic maintenance that we do, you still have them come in and do PMs for annuals. But the basic stuff we do in between, you know, your outside condenser units, we take them apart and clean them because they get dirty and you gotta clean them every 6-8 weeks in the summertime. So there's not just light bulbs, but light ballasts, light fixtures.
So he was considered part of the roads. So how many people do you have on the road?
Well, it's 5 and
There's-
3.
Yes.
5 people on the road and 3 people in the parks.
Right, that's the way it's been. And then he's separate and then Ed was separate.
So if somebody was on vacation, I would fill in. or Ed would have to fill in.
Yeah.
Or if somebody was off hurt or sick, we'd have to fill in.
So, I don't think 3 in the park is enough.
You actually need, honestly, you need 4 people in the park. That's why I've been telling them, we don't have a parks and roads, we have a service department, because every day you could be doing something different. You could be working, if vacations hit or something like that, we may have to pull somebody out of the park to do a burial. You know, if, it all depends on what's going on that day. You know, in the wintertime,
Unless you have people like who are there now are considered crossovers, and then when you hire new people, you have them specialize in.
Designate.
Yeah, and like in a park or the HVI guy, I don't know. But if you hire someone new, you designate them to a certain area, but then you still have your crossovers.
Yeah, you're still gonna have to cross-train them over a
Yeah.
period of time, though.
yeah.
Okay, to get back to where you were.
Right, because if we've
Well,
had,
I mean, how many, you lost
Well-
Brent out of the park.
I'm talking about when there's somebody out sick or on vacation or something like that, and then you have a need, like he said, burial. You're gonna
Right,
have,
so
you're
you
gonna have to
have
pull a person
Dave
in from somewhere to do
And
something,
who
from somewhere
else is in
else
the
to
park
do
now?
something.
Dave and Jeff are in the park. So you have 2 people that are cross-trained already.
Okay,
Well, they're all cross-trained.
Yeah, everybody.
Right.
I mean,
but
every
what I-
single one of them is, but the new people coming in would not be.
Right.
I mean, we would have to take time to cross-train them.
unless they came in experienced from somewhere else, which
Yeah.
is small chance of that, smaller chance of that.
when you start dividing them up into this group, that group, then the problem is when you have to bring somebody from the park over to the road, are they equally paid? Because it's not, I mean, it's 2 separate jobs.
Well, yeah, unless you have somebody that's just stays in the parks and you don't bring them over to the roads because you have other people that are cross-trained, like Dave and Jeff. Those would be the 2 that would move over to the roads, and then you have your road guy that could move over to Dave and Jeff's job, and then you have the new people that we're hiring are designated park people that actually know about wildlife, invasive species, I mean, forestry. I mean, there's all sorts of things that aren't necessarily what our guys have now. Because there's,
Well, the other issue is we're gonna lose one of those 2
right.
this year too.
Well,
so.
you could do 1 and 1, but I think we've gotten to the point. See, I've been here a long time. And since I've been here, we've probably added, since I started, we've probably added 3 parks: Hopewell, not Symmes Park, Home of the Brave, Mead, and we've never added employees to the park. And so now as I walk along the park and I started learning a little bit about environment and doing things to make a healthy forest and things like that, we don't have the manpower, or our staff doesn't have the knowledge. And so I would like to see someone, at least 1 person, if we can't hire, I don't know, however you want, we got to talk about that. At least 1 person that knows all of that, and then can say, hey, we need to do this in the park, or we can do this in the park, or, you know, because I feel like it's always me coming up with the ideas for the park. And I'm not going to be here forever. So I would like someone in the park that says, oh, this is the latest in parks, prairie glands, this. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we need to have someone that comes up with ideas and keeps moving the parks forward, because the one thing we are known for is how beautiful our parks are, and our staff does a great job taking care of our parks. But I mean, like everywhere, they could be better. I mean, like, you know, and I would like to have the best parks in entire Hamilton County. I'd like to take on great parks.
To the same point, I agree with Jody, but to the same point, we've added street mileage to the township since you and I have been here.
Yeah.
Phil's been here just about as long. And, you know, at least, 16 years, 15, 16 years, all of us. We've seen a lot of change here. It may not seem like much, but I can think of 2 or 3 little little subdivisions that we've added and so on, so it's more street mileage to do and so
So
on.
maybe we need to hire
How,
an
how are we
additional.
doing covering the increased street mileage?
Everything takes, honestly, we've done less road work in the past 3 years than we have since I've been here. It's because we're busy with other projects.
Okay.
So do you think we need to hire another person for the road too?
Not necessarily,
Well, I'm
meaning not
asking him.
not necessarily stealing somebody from the road department to go work in the park.
No, I'm talking
Yeah.
about adding.
Yeah.
Right.
I think we concentrate on the parks first and then see where we are. See
Do
if
you
that
agree with
unloads that situation.
Do you agree?
Because if you had enough people to maintain the parks, you know, to where you could have a separate crew that'd be doing the roads, the buildings, the
Yeah.
cemeteries, that would relieve a lot of,
Yeah. You wouldn't have to be stealing from that
Right.
side, is what he's saying.
So if we hire one or two, could they cut
If-
grass and
if you
eliminate,
replace-
not everything, every contract, full-time employees I'm talking? Is one enough or two enough
if we replace the two we lost
first
first,
and then
get through
add?
this year,
Yeah.
then we can,
We may very well have
Revisit
to
it next
replace
fall.
another one next year.
yeah.
Okay.
Just
In
like to do-
addition to,
I like to do 3, because if we know we're gonna lose one in the summer, there's no reason to wait.
The other problem you
Right.
have is if you look around at the hiring, Deerfield Township's had an ad in the paper for 3 weeks. Nothing.
okay,
And what's their starting rate?
Same as ours.
okay.
And what is their starting rate?
18 to 20 an hour.
Yeah,
Which
we
is
might need to
basically-
bump that up a little bit.
The city of Sharonville, which usually when they give a test, because they're a city, they usually have 50-plus applicants at 4. So I mean, it's, everybody's hurting because you can't compete with the big cities like Mason, Montgomery, Blue Ash. You can't compete with their
People
salaries.
don't have city income tax
I mean,
at fair levels.
the city of Mason, they're getting ready to hire again. They just did a hiring last year, hired, I think, 8. They start out at $28 an hour. So it's hard to compete with those type of,
Well, if we had somebody who had some experience, we could pay more, if we wouldn't have to train them up. I'm worried about if we had to raise salaries across, we'd have to almost do it across the board. In
That's-
which case trying to save money here by doing something, all of a sudden
Well,
goes the other way, it costs you more.
Can I make a comment? We gave them a 5% increase, so why don't we bump the starting salary up 5%?
Well, we did, we probably did.
Yeah, we did. and
The
we-
schedules
Yeah, the
have to
schedule,
go
The whole
up.
schedule's up.
Yeah.
The schedule has to go up, otherwise somebody comes off the top.
So last year
That
we
falls
gave
off
them
the
a
bottom.
5%, so did we do an additional 5% last year?
Yeah,
Didn't we give more than 5% last year? What did
Five.
we give
Well, that's-
last year?
Last year, but we gave them a
last year.
3%, there wasn't a salary increase,
Yeah,
it was a lump
bonus.
sum.
Bonus.
2.5%
Bonus.
bonus.
Yeah, because of COVID.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, we raised it.
Okay,
So we're looking, on the park side, we're looking for a strategic hire, someone who would be trained up in all things parks.
you'd have
Be
to
looking
create a
for
position.
2 other individuals
A
to
classification.
do all the working, fill in for who we're losing. Is that right?
can we
Yeah.
post something that says salary commensurate with experience?
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah, but you really
I
should
mean,
post a range, because otherwise people aren't gonna take the time to apply if they don't know
okay.
how much it is.
Well, that's fine, but the range should be
Right, it would give us wiggle
almost the
room.
entire range that we cover with our employees.
Right,
All the way to the supervisory level, I think should be listed as the range.
I totally agree.
because like we have a labor's position already,
Okay,
and that's what I was thinking, you could just put people in that category. But basically, it's just, it's mainly grounds, parks, cemeteries, and facilities, and then it's partly mowing stuff on the road and helping with the road, and then, of course, there's always additional duties, because you gotta come in on the weekends and work and clean
but
parks and stuff
that's
like
all
that.
pretty much introductory or.
Yeah, this is entry level.
But
Yeah.
I think we ought to be looking for somebody above that also. if
Well,
we
you
can find it.
could, but then you
Right.
would have extra things, like you
But if
automatically
you
have
put-
to have a CDL.
If you put that out there as kind of an entry-level position, a posting, then you're gonna be relegated to getting applicants that are only gonna fit that bill. Whereas
Right.
if the bill was wider, okay, you might find somebody who's more experienced and you could pay them more.
Or you could advertise for
Multi-
both,
multiple-
and
yeah.
multiple things, and
Okay.
then see who applies for each one.
All right, so, right now, I see as a minimum, we have to replace the two we've lost.
3.
And you.
I would
we
do
haven't lost
3
the third
because you're
one yet.
gonna lose somebody in the summer.
Well,
Do
that's,
3
that's
now.
one up for discussion. You countered, I'm saying, we've got to look at 2 minimum, and you're saying 3. I understand your logic for that. Let's see if everybody else agrees, and I'll post for 3.
I would rather be ahead than behind, like we are now.
Good point. Good point.
And that's why I was saying of the 3, my understanding is one is essentially a manager, and then 2 are entry.
Certainly a leadership position.
Right.
Well, nobody's a manager, it's just like with Ed, his was like building maintenance-ish, and then other stuff as assigned.
But they're talking about the new position. You would want to gear somebody toward parks,
Yes.
park specific, where they would be either a
That's what I'd want to add.
crew leader or
trained up.
manager.
Certified. Yeah.
Two entry and 1 hire?
Yeah, that's what I was saying, I was just
Okay.
gonna say that, can we do 2 entry and then 1, and
Okay.
see like what kind of CDL they have?
Okay.
Because obviously you'd have to bring them in.
Well,
Wrote down.
I'd like to
Well,
see
all
open.
3 should have
I
CDL,
think we
right?
should go for 3
Or
and then a
close.
manager.
That's up
That's
to you
what I
guys.
think. I think we need to add.
So you already have, as far as job classifications go, you already actually have a park manager, which is Dave. So you would want to have somebody that would either have additional qualifications or above and beyond what the qualifications are as a park manager now. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you would add to that and change that classification to something different. Because, I mean, if you're actually talking the perfect world, if possible, is my position would have an assistant. And then you would have 2 managers under that. One for the, or you call them foreman, whatever you want to call them.
Or,
Have a park and a road.
Or,
we have an assistant administrator,
Right.
and then we have the 2 positions underneath it.
That's it too. The only reason I'm saying that is because really, I mean, I don't know how much longer I'll be here.
I'm sorry, what?
I said, I don't know how much longer I'll be here. I mean, I'm working on my 30th year, so, I mean, it could be, in reality, I could go at the end of 24, is when I'm eligible. Not that saying that I 100% am going to make that decision, but it'd be nice to start training somebody for the cemeteries. That was, when that was turned over to me, that was, and I still, every day, find more things for the cemetery. I mean, it's nobody's fault, it's just the cemeteries are very complicated. You have to know cemeteries, you gotta have to know record keeping, you gotta have to know mapping, you gotta know all that stuff, which somebody needs that knowledge. And we try to train these guys as you go along, it's hard to train everybody to know all of it. But if you had somebody that, when I'm not here, I wouldn't have to worry about a funeral call getting messed up. Because that'd be the first time as soon as you make a mistake in the cemetery, as soon as you hit the news, you know.
Yes.
I'm sure, yes. But in the ideal world, wouldn't our software take care of that?
The software goes so far, but you still need somebody that knows how to use that software. And the main thing is actually going out and hands-on.
Okay.
You have to, every time we do a funeral, you have to go out and actually
Make sure nobody else is already buried there.
make sure there's enough room, make sure there wasn't a mistake,
Yes.
make sure everything is straight, ready to go, because if
Right. Okay.
there's a row here and you start the first one crooked, it's gonna mess everybody else up. So, I mean, there's a lot to it than, and it's 7 days a week, I mean, I get calls from funeral homes on Saturdays, Sunday afternoons. You know, they're meeting with families, so why they got families, they call you, which is where our new software has really come in handy. I can look at all that on my phone or on my tablet, which makes it nice and easy, you know, to answer questions on the fly. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of things that, you know, when you meet with a family, you don't know if it's going to be a 5 minute or an hour as they make their decision or as they select or whatever. So, but it's not something that you take like. I worry constantly about the cemetery. I worry about everything, but I worry more about the
I
cemetery.
have a lot more confidence in where we are now
It's,
than where we were before.
the new software is.
Yeah, it's helped leaps and
It-
bounds,
it
especially
took-
like with letting us know where available lots were. That's the thing that we just
Right.
we couldn't wrap our head around, like, oh my gosh, look at all these lots we have for sale that we just didn't know we had.
We made enough money the first year, I believe, in selling graves to pay for the setup cost.
That's
Okay.
awesome.
Yeah, I mean, but,
But we took on
but that's-
responsibility in perpetuity,
right.
you know, maintain and all that kind of stuff, so.
And it's something that is continuous. I mean, it'll never go away. And now we have a good software.
Unless we get capacity to help, right?
Right, but I mean, we don't want that because that's the only revenue we have, so. We have to look at new and better ways, but that's just, there's many areas that if I'm on vacation or off sick or hurt or something, or when the time comes that I move on, somebody needs to be able to continue.
So would that be a duty for an assistant administrator?
That could be. I mean, everybody, I mean, Kim will tell you, you know, I mean, she's probably learned more about cemeteries since she's been here than she wants to admit.
Yeah.
But I mean, everybody has to know a little bit of everything, because we're so small.
Mhm. I
It's
understand that.
interesting too.
Yeah, it is, it's quite interesting.
Okay.
Okay.
But, I mean, the cemeteries are just a start. So you have cemeteries, you have parks, you have roads, you have storm sewers, you have building maintenance. You have a lot of things that not everybody's gonna be, you know, well-rounded in all of it, but you hopefully you get a couple people that are good in a little bit of everything. So you try to put the people, you know, if I know one of the guys doesn't like anything of electric, that's the last thing I have to do is electrical work, you know, no matter how minor it could be. If you're not comfortable doing electric, that's the last thing you have to do, but that person may be good with small plumbing projects. That's the person. You try to fit the person with the job.
Mhm.
Some people are petrified of cemeteries, so you try to not use them in cemeteries unless you absolutely have to, you know. You try to work around stuff like that.
Clowns.
Right.
Okay. All right.
So, are we advertising this year for these park individuals?
I think I would like to do it as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you can always repost, so,
Yeah.
okay, if you find somebody came through that, not really quite interested at that level kind of thing, and then you take a look at what your job description is, and maybe you modify the job description to the person if you find somebody you really want.
Yeah.
So, you know, get something out there if we can, and I'm okay with 3, 2 and 1.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
start
let's
with
see what kind of
Well,
bites,
yeah.
let's see what kind of bites we get.
Right.
Yeah, I would just maybe leave it open too, for a long time.
Okay.
Even if we fill it, you know?
Okay.
What do you mean by leave it open?
Well,
Like maybe leave it on the website posted, like you could put it in the
Oh,
paper,
yeah.
general circulation, maybe you put it on Indeed, maybe you could do a
Yeah.
combination thereof. Put it on the website and then you just kind of fill it and go and then leave it and see what other, because people might not see it this month, but they might see it next month and.
Or
is that what you-
circumstances change for
Yeah,
different
true,
people over time,
yeah.
and you might find a new audience.
Yeah.
Somebody's really looking for them.
I mean, especially like the part-time, if we want to hammer the part-time, I don't know if there's something that we could partner with UC or Miami or one of those where you actually post it at the school, and then, you know, they could see it, and then, you know, do our website. You go to the high school, you maybe work with the high school to post it. I don't know.
Maybe you could try your part-time position as your park specialist, whether it be a horticulturist or something like that, somebody from college that would need some, start that way with a part-time
Oh, yeah.
park
to do your
specialist.
specialty stuff.
Internship.
Yeah, park
Internship.
specialist,
Yeah,
that way you
exactly.
can, then you never know, once
Yeah.
that position comes through, maybe that would be somebody that you wanna, that'd be a good way of trying somebody out. And then if it
Exactly.
works, then that'd be the person that you
Both
wanna
ways.
consider.
Yes.
Well,
Both ways,
true.
I like that.
I don't, I think the person that you hire for a park specialist, they have to have a lot of experience.
Mhm.
And I think
Yeah.
it has to be a high-paid job. So I personally don't think a college student coming out could do it. It has to be a
Yeah.
upper-level job, so I don't
But you
think an
may have
intern could
somebody
do
that
it.
worked in a park and was familiar with that then went to college and now graduated, so.
Well, yeah, you would want a college grad with,
Right.
like, environmental science, or horticulture, or something like that,
Sustainability.
or someone who's been in landscaping for
Yeah.
20 years.
Right.
You don't know who you're gonna get, so I would make the job description wide, but you would have, that would be an upper paid position, because that's gonna require knowledge,
Okay.
not just
Right,
a
specialty
entry level, someone coming out of college could do.
We could always create a position description that just specifically caters to that and see what we get. You know,
Yeah,
and if we don't get anything, we don't get anything, we go back to the drawing board.
That'd probably be your best.
You're gonna have to, you're
Yeah.
gonna have to benchmark it with respect to
Yeah.
pay range.
and you have to put it in places like where people of that caliber hang out.
Oh,
Yeah.
Parks, Cincinnati parks, great parks. I mean, you're gonna have to steal somebody, so you're gonna have to pay better. That might be hard. Not hard from Great Parks, because Great Parks doesn't pay very well, but probably Cincinnati parks, they pay better. Yeah.
okay.
What about roads? Are we good with roads?
If we replace the two that we've just lost, yeah, we would be fine.
So we're
Because
looking
they're all in the
for
parks,
two,
so you wouldn't have to steal from the roads. to-
two for roads, three for parks. Is that
No,
what
we
I'm
have
hearing?
No.
5.
He's got
for
four,
road.
he's got 4 in roads now, and he's been stealing somebody from roads to fill in the parks. If he covers the parks, then he should be okay with the 4 he's got on roads. That's what I think.
That's what I was asking.
It's
So
yeah.
0 for
Well,
roads.
Yeah,
we're down
right now.
one, right? Because
Right
Brent
now.
left, so we're down one, and then Ed's position.
Right.
So we're down one on the roads.
Ed's position was considered a building maintenance floater.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So did you or did you not lose one from roads?
we lost Brent.
Yeah.
Because Brent,
Brent, okay. I thought Brent was parks.
he was
He
when we
was,
moved
but
it.
then we switched him over to the roads, because they kind of flip-flop back and
Okay.
forth depending on the year.
And
Okay.
so you want to fill, you and another person on the road, but you're going to take some people from the road for Ed's position.
Right.
Okay.
So
So
it'll
you
be
want
one.
a service worker for Brent and a service worker for Ed.
And then you want a
And then
park-
I want my
park
park.
specialist.
Yeah, so that's why I
So
said
basically, you would
three.
have,
Okay.
you'd have 4 people in the park all the time,
4.
and then,
We want 4 because we want to.
Yeah, actually, yeah, you would need to do 4 if you want an
So-
extra person. in the park.
so when somebody was sick, hurt, or on vacation, you'd pull your building maintenance person as the floater to fill in at the road level. It's easier, and this is a bad thing to say, it's easier to run short on the road, which you hate to, than it is to run short in the park, because once you're behind, you're behind. You never get caught up.
In the park.
Yeah, because
what-
once you get behind, you're playing catch-up all year. And that's what we've done, I mean, you figure with all the events we have and stuff, it's hard to maintain a schedule and keep up with everything when we're that busy, and you have people that are,
That's why we need to increase the people in the parks, because since I've been in the seat, we haven't hired any extra people, and our parks have not doubled, but almost have doubled, and our events for sure have gotten a lot bigger. And so I think,
I mean, if you look at acreage, it has doubled,
Yeah, I'm sure it
Yeah.
is.
because,
With
I mean,
Hope-
Home of the Brave
Hopewell
Park
and
by
Home of the
itself is
Brave.
50 acres.
Yeah.
yeah.
So, I mean, you're right, it's just,
Okay.
Okay.
So, remind me, the fourth person is, what's their category?
Well, 2 would be entry, 1 would be service worker with a CDL, hopefully, and then eventually maybe like someone that's like specialty.
So we're talking 4 now?
Your specialty person is the 4th, which would be a, like you said, it's a type of supervisory position.
Yeah. I think we'll be lucky if we get 2.
Yeah, but we can try.
No, I'm just saying.
If we make the range
Yeah.
Okay.
based on
Worrying
experience.
what it does to our vote base. If we have to pay a bunch more to get somebody in here, then change your schedule.
Do we need to talk about the projects then?
Yes.
Next. Okay.
What page is that? Where am I
It's
finding
this.
So
Two-pager.
I gave you a list for all the proposed
It's on the
projects
back
for
paperclip.
2023.
It's in the packet, at the very back 2 pages.
This one?
No, this packet. Should be in this packet.
Did you want,
Oh,
oh, okay.
Can I just do that?
Oh, I forgot my glasses.
that's in that packet.
So it's the 2 sheets that are colored that has the blue and the, kind of like the mauve color that was attached to the agenda.
Ours aren't colored.
Oh, maybe I didn't color them.
It's okay.
I didn't put them in the color copier.
It's all right.
So basically, these are the projects I have listed for 2023. I have some that I listed for 2022. A lot of the stuff obviously carried over into 2023 just because they either wasn't, the order got canceled and we had to replace it this year, or stuff just kind of, it just didn't never materialized. So for 2023 in the general fund, I have part of the Seven Gables Park project coming out of that, and then we'll refund ourselves with the $200,000 that we're gonna get from the OD&R grant.
Have we heard anything about when it's coming?
Yeah, it's due to be here April 4th. That's the ship date.
You're talking about the equipment, not the money.
Yeah, ship date is April 4th, so it should
Okay.
be here, within the week,
So we could probably have an opening in May.
possibly by Memorial Day. Yeah.
Because we want to do a big fun opening.
And we're installing it ourselves?
No, the company will be installing it.
They
It's all
do that.
part of the
Yeah.
package.
Okay.
Now,
So-
the surface down here, 150, that's a new estimate, isn't it?
Yes, that's one of the estimates that we have from Ventura for the turf. I have a second one, but I think the 115 was the cheapest.
Can I ask a question? Does this surface area, special material, whatever, does that include expansion?
This is just the part that we're installing, so.
Nothing more?
Nothing more. So when you look at the plan, remember how it had the one path that kind of went like this and kind of meandered
Okay,
up? So it's from here all the way over.
Okay.
So it'll include like the turf, that green turf that we have at Symmes Park and the Lemming. And then there's certain areas through that, like the big main piece, that will actually be that, what do they call that stuff?
Pour in place?
Yeah, pour in place, the rubbery, so there's gonna be rubber and turf mixed together.
Okay.
The rubber will be the paths that kind of go through it, that kind of go leading up to the different play structures or whatever, because there's multiple play structures.
okay.
Have we got, in this plan, is the firehouse going to be in this part of the plan?
Not this one yet, so I gotta have him do the estimate for the second part.
Okay.
And then we have to try to hopefully find sponsors
Okay.
to
Like
do that.
pot.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Wow.
So anyway, it'll include the $115,000 for the actual play surface, and then we've got the $200,000 coming out of the general fund for part of the Seven Gables Park. Then you've got $338 coming out of the ARPA fund to complete that particular project.
Okay.
We've got some equipment waiting on Summit that we're still waiting on. We ordered last year that, I don't even know when Glenn, did he even have a ship date? Like, okay. We've had a lot of issues with a lot of our switches for our Wi-Fi, so we've had to pretty much switch out, like replace almost every switch that we own, because a lot of the stuff was 5+ years old. So, and they're not cheap, it's almost $2,000 a switch, so we've had to do that. So we're waiting on the last one to come in. I've got the Montgomery Road median landscaping plugged in. The parking lot repaving, which I have no idea if 50,000 is even a good number anymore, so we'll have to revisit that. The MSD sewer extension costs, I don't know if you saw today, but they're gonna start this project out here February 6th. They're gonna start doing road closures. So they will upgrade and install that sewer from Industrial Drive down here to the curve, or I guess our driveway would be where the end of the project will be. So I don't know if we'll be able to enter and exit from our driveway. We might have to cut in and out of the cemetery.
They said they would keep access to it.
I got
Okay,
an interesting question.
yep.
Why don't we sell that property? What do we need it for?
We don't need it.
Why don't we sell it? Why should we incur this additional expense?
Oh, we're already way past that.
Okay,
We had
so,
this
so we
discussion
do,
3
and we
years
add
ago.
it to the sale price.
Yeah, you
Do
could.
you think the lodge over there would be interested in purchasing it to expand?
No, because the lodge gave it to us when
They
the
gave
road
it to
was
us?
redone.
Yeah, years ago.
Is there any restrictions on that gift?
What do you mean?
Well, sometimes when people give you something, they say you can only do this or can only do that with it.
Oh, no, I mean, it's a buildable lot.
Yeah.
We would just try to sell it as a house, like a
Right.
buildable lot.
Okay.
That's why the sewer's going to it. I mean, we tried to get out of it, but they won't let us out of it, so we gotta
Okay.
pay our $12,000
But
and,
does that include tap-in fee?
no, we
No.
would have to pay the tap-in fee on top of it.
So if we sold it, somebody wanted to build there, it also had to pay a tap-in fee.
Right,
Yeah, I
which
don't know
is
how that
not
works
cheap.
with them. Do you, Bill?
right, but that's
Thousands of
standard.
dollars.
Or are they gonna, they're
Right.
probably gonna make us pay the
That's
tap-in
standard.
fee when they run the lateral.
But it all depends on how the MSD did the contract. If the contract includes the tap-ins for everybody.
Okay.
Some of them do.
Let's see if we can't get that put in.
But contracts
So we're
are.
on-
Yeah,
wait
it's
for
already
it
been
again.
let. I mean, they didn't even tell us they let the contract. We just got the notice today that they were closing the road, so.
Yeah, we didn't.
Okay. So we can't get out of it, but we don't necessarily need the lot over there.
No, we don't
with the
need
sewer
it.
accessibility and so on.
The only bad thing is for us to dispose of it, you gotta put it out for an auction, like a bid. Like you gotta put it out to auction, pretty much.
And it would have to be sold at the
Fair.
value. Is that
Yep.
what, that'd be your minimum? It'd be a reserve.
Yep.
So we got a white elephant? Pretty much.
Yeah.
Unless you find the right person.
Yeah. I mean, and that's where I think we had talked about joining the CIC, was so that we could try to get rid of these parcels that we own, that we don't need, that we can just sell, but we can't sell them, but the CIC can sell them.
Okay. Okay, put that on your tick file over there.
So the CSC could sell it to a developer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whereas we can't.
Got it.
Well, that lot's gotta be worth more than $15,000.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's over that, there's a threshold. If anything that's over $2,500, we don't have the ability to get rid of it without going through the whole bidding process.
Okay. All right.
So it'd have to be a sealed bid of real estate.
Yep. And
How
I
many
don't know, I
acres?
mean, you could get a ton of them
Good.
for
Is that
all
a
I know,
couple-
but
Couple acres?
it's probably an acre, isn't it?
I can't remember off the top of my head, but I'm wanting to say it's a little over an acre. Like an acre and a half, acre and a third.
How many properties do we have that are like that?
Oh, we've got tons.
Tons of them?
Yes, they're all over the place too.
Yeah, but this one really hurts because we had no control over MSD wanting to add the sewers to it. We have a lot of lots in different areas that have septic requirements and so on, so.
But that increases the value. And if we build
Definitely.
that sidewalk out there,
Yeah.
we're just
Yeah.
continuing to increase the value. The
Definitely.
resale.
Some, we might have some people
It's a
who
great
wouldn't want
location.
the sidewalk in front of their property.
It's a great location.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
For business.
Okay.
So then I have a vehicle replacement in there, and then our
Put like ranch.
administration building at some point in the future.
Okay, so where's,
How many kids are
that money is allocated in the 2023 budget,
Which,
the 3 million?
no, that's, I put it out in 2025. I have no idea what that number will
Oh,
be.
I didn't see
but-
that. I'm sorry, I apologize.
Yeah. I just put it in
My
there
eyesight.
so we're constantly thinking about it.
Okay. I was wondering if we're trying to sandbag some money in each year towards that, so
We could.
I guess, wouldn't have to borrow so much money to do the whole thing at one
Yeah.
time. I wondered where you'd put it. That's all. But okay, got it.
So then, I don't know if you want me to just keep moving on, or if there's anything else you want to bring up that maybe the general fund would pay for.
Let's just keep moving on.
Okay.
Yeah.
So under the gas tax money, the gas tax, the TIF, and the ARPA money, we've got plugged in for the street sweepers, so that's coming out of, you can see the breakdown to the side where I've got 20,000 in the gas tax, 70,000 out of the TIF, and then 41,384.50 out of the ARP funds. Now, this is a project we committed to last year, or a piece of equipment we committed to last year, but they didn't build it this year, so they're gonna build it, or I'm sorry, they didn't build it last year, so they're building it this year. Same with the dump truck replacement, that's what thing that we committed to last year, but they never did build it this year, so hopefully, are they still on for March? March. And then we have to, I budgeted 120,000 for the truck bed replacement, I have no idea if that's a good number, because the steel prices keep
We'll be
rapidly
close.
changing.
We'll be close, but that'll,
Okay. And then plus, we're gonna have our trade-in.
right. That's what I'm hoping offsets the cost.
Yeah. Salt dome door replacement, so we put that on the schedule for this year because we've got issues.
Where is that? Is
that
that one
here?
here or
It's this
down?
one over here, right?
Yes.
That's why the
Okay.
doors are open all the time.
Well, once we get it open, we try to keep it open, especially if we know there's snow, because there's some issues where it doesn't always
Grabs.
open, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you get in there if it's closed?
Yes, we have,
Another access?
yeah, we will.
Okay,
We can make access.
all right.
And then, of course, we have the budget for salt, our usual catch basin replacements, the paving program, 550, so we're gonna be doing Montgomery Trace, and then Bill's gonna get me a list of other streets that he would like to see paved to keep us on our, was it 15 to 17 year cycle?
That's on the schedule?
Yes.
Okay.
We're
We
trying
did- we
to
did
keep,
curbing last year, is
yeah,
that
we're
right?
trying to keep everything on schedule, so when our levy's up, we are either
Done.
right on schedule or we're ahead of schedule a little bit.
Okay.
Every year so far, when our levy's been renewed, we've always been a little ahead of schedule, which is always nice to show the residents that we're keeping our promise of what we had in our 7-year schedule and moved forward.
Okay.
So then we've got the Reclamine in there, and then I budgeted $30,000 for flashing beacons. I have no idea if that's enough money. We probably need to talk more about, because we had gotten an email from a gentleman about doing an audible one on Fields Erdel near Costco, or not
That's-
That was
Costco.
by the park, right?
That's
Stonebridge
Stonebridge.
Way.
Stonebridge,
Coming out
yeah.
of Stonebridge.
And then
Yes.
another crosswalk on Lebanon at
Carousel.
Carousel. But the bad thing about that one is you'd need to install sidewalk. You couldn't just install a crosswalk.
Okay.
So I don't know, it's a discussion we probably need to have
This,
about whether you want to move forward with those or not.
This Fields Erdel Road sidewalk was brought up by
One individual.
one individual in
Yep.
Stonebridge. It's because he's partially blind or something. He wants the audible now.
Right.
So he can cross to a park on the other side of the road. Are they aware that they
Are
can
they
walk
walking
through
them?
Stonebridge and go into Mead Property Park and so on, walk through there?
I think so. I think it was in the email. We pointed that out, but they want to be able to cross over into Deerfield Township, which is,
And we're considering this for one person?
yeah.
Well, this, I thought
That's
this,
a busy road.
it is a busy road. I thought that this connected two parks on both sides of the road.
It connects to the
Deer
Warren County
Park.
Park across the
Yeah,
street.
It's a
Right.
different,
We're-
little tiny park called
Right.
Menard or something.
Craig
isn't it?
Menard Park.
We're going
yeah.
into Deer Park Road as soon as you cross that double
Yeah.
yellow or It's Deer Park, I'm
That,
not.
that's still Symmes, both sides of the road Symmes, it's still
And
Hamilton
then
County.
as soon as you get on the other side of the road, it's
No,
Deerfield.
it-
Deerfield.
Yeah.
Up a little bit, because the county line goes at an angle, so if you actually looked at the map,
Yep.
part of Myers' parking lot by the lawn and garden is actually Symmes. Then as it goes up, it kind of turns back at an angle, so.
Okay.
That section is ours, you'd have to get closer to the entrance of the
But the-
apartment complex. for
The
it to
park
be-
across the street's not ours.
Correct, that's Warren County.
Okay, and that's what, 20 feet? No, it's more than that because it sets back, doesn't it?
So what's
Okay.
in that park that's not in the parks that we have?
Nothing.
Well, the thing that bothered me about that one person wanting it, and I understand, I really do, I want to be sympathetic, but I thought it was a sidewalk issue or something, get together or side of the road for a sidewalk, but we have sidewalks on the south side.
Yep.
They'll take you all the way to Montgomery Road and connect up with all of Montgomery Road sidewalks.
It's just a crosswalk.
Yeah, and I don't know, is there a sidewalk on the
It's
other side
flashing
of the
beacon
street?
sidewalks,
I can't remember if it started right there and it goes to
one
like
audible.
where that drive comes in from Meyer. Is there a sidewalk right
It
there?
still goes all the way down, yes.
Oh, it
Yeah.
still goes all the way down?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's on both sides.
Basically to the apartments in Deerfield.
Okay.
All right.
We don't have to decide tonight, I just,
No, it's just.
we've got it on there, just
I
want to
don't
be
know how
in
much
the
these things
forefront.
cost, but
But just to reiterate, all of our other crosswalks will be taken care of with the flashing beacons,
Yes.
right?
Matter of fact, we got the parts in, we started the Hopewell and Humphrey. Matter of fact, we started it today.
Great.
okay.
Oh, those came in?
Yep, they just come
Okay.
in, we started on
The
those.
conversion, you mean?
Had to get the, everything switched out and reprogrammed and everything, so it'll take a few days to get that done. And we are going over tomorrow to pick up our other crosswalks that had just been delivered. So I have to get all the utilities marked, and hopefully within the next 2 weeks or so, we'll have those in.
So those are the
Weather
ones
hold
we're
down.
doing on Humphrey, right?
That's the one at Pinto, Misty Morn, and then the one for Union Cemetery at Mead.
Okay.
I was just pulling out, I was thinking of you, late last week, as I was pulling out, going to work, and there was a student crossing there at Pinto to get to the bus stop on the other side of Humphrey. Totally dark. Yeah. Fortunately, the student had a white hoodie, so I could kind of see that something was in the road, but yeah, it's not easy. So this is good. That's where Mary White was struck and killed. Yeah,
Up there in Hopewell.
yeah, good. Great news.
Unfortunately,
I'm sorry, on Humphrey.
I know Bill has been working on with Terwilliger's pipe and Timberlake, but I just don't see any way to get that into the budget. So I have that tentatively right now for 2024.
Is that because it's flooding down at one end? What?
Timberlake is, yes.
Okay. And
Ti-
there's,
Timberlake at that end, there never was a cul-de-sac installed, it's just a dead-end street.
yeah,
So the drainage just dead ends into the,
there's no storm sewer down at the end?
no. And it
Okay.
always, part of that property, well, the part that floods is actually on that resident's property, and it goes towards 71.
Okay.
So when they put the sound barrier wall up, the more water runs back, the more erosion that they have back there. So there's erosion on his property and ODOT right away.
Now, they're behind the sound wall?
Yes.
Okay.
And I know that the longer we wait for Terwilliger's, the worse it gets.
Yeah, the price is gonna keep going up because there's
Yeah.
gonna be more and more pipe moving at that project.
Where in Terwilliger's is this? Bill?
Terwilliger's Ridge,
Okay, Ridge, okay.
On the parks, that 14,915 was something from last year, and it was a couple little things that we forgot in the first bid. It was like some benches and some little squawker, little flower looking things. So that's what that money is.
How about the one above that, the tennis court repairs?
Yeah, we did that in 2022, and then the bathrooms for Symmes were done in 2022.
Oh,
So those are both completed,
did
I
we
think.
repair the tennis courts at Hopewell Meadows?
yes.
We did?
All the
Good.
big major cracks and everything, they use a new product, yeah.
Okay, question. I don't think this would be a big ticket item, but could we paint all our tennis courts for paddleball as an option?
Didn't we do half? We did
Not
half
all.
of them, didn't we?
Not paddleball.
Pickleball.
Pickleball.
We did it for pickleball, what,
Yeah.
All
3
of
years
them?
ago?
No, I thought it was
I
just
think
some
we
of
did
them.
half.
We did,
I think we did.
But you have to lower the,
right, you gotta lower the net 2 inches.
and
Well,
can we do that?
yeah, but it makes it hard to,
Yeah.
I mean, if you leave the equipment out there where they can do it themselves, it comes up missing, so you'd be better off to split those tennis courts, because you could actually take one tennis court and make 2 pickleball courts.
That must
Because-
be hardcore pickleball players,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I've played with the tennis.
Oh, we
Oh,
get-
no,
we
people
get calls, don't we?
complain, man,
We
they
get
know their
calls.
lane height
It's
of
2
that.
inches too high, or tennis players, it's 2 inches too low, and it's, so you'd be better off to, if you're gonna do that, to spend the money to have designated pickleball courts, designated tennis courts.
So
So
that's
take
why I
one-
thought if we just painted them all, they
Well,
give
the-
more options, but if people are gonna
But the paint,
complain about it.
yeah, the paint's one thing, the net's another. So you're better off just to take one court and designate it just for, because you could take one court and split it in half, have 2 pickleball courts, and then have 1 tennis court. You could do that, and I think you'd have a lot happier people.
Okay.
And you could do that at both, you could do at Seven Gables and,
So, right now, we have 2
Hope.
pickleball courts and 2 tennis courts between Hopewell and Seven Gables. Okay?
Yeah, well, I
And
I
he's
don't
saying
know.
you could double the pickleball
well, you
courts.
only have one pickleball court, because you're actually retroing a tennis court
Yeah.
as a
Yes.
pickleball. But if you eliminated that tennis court and set it up as 2 pickleball courts, you'd have
I don't
to,
think we wanna do that, do we? Eliminate tennis?
Well,
well, you'd still have one designated
One
tennis,
tennis court
and then you would have
two
the
pickleball.
second court would be
Okay.
2 pickleball courts.
I know where there could be a great pickleball place. I don't know how much it is to put in a pickleball court, but when you enter Home of the Brave, you know that flat area behind our
The Masonic Temple.
Masonic Temple, that
Mhm.
little area right there. It's big enough, it could probably house 2.
The only problem
much
is
do
not
we
all
have?
that property is ours.
Yeah, I was
Well,
gonna
all the
say,
stuff that we cut
Right,
is
yeah.
ours.
It's pretty, well, you could still get 2 courts in there, yes.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah,
you could.
you just have to be careful that we get it surveyed to make sure we're,
we don't
Okay.
really know what the usage is. When I would
Yeah, I have
remember way
no
back
idea.
when I first came here, in order to use the tennis courts, you had to come to the township and sign up for a time. That was way back when.
Well, I
20
tell you, when you drive down Montgomery Road, they're always at Seven Gables playing tennis. And I
Or
know
dogs
when
running on them.
we do yoga on Saturday mornings, and they're always playing tennis on
Yeah.
the courts.
Okay.
And I know there's a huge following for pickleball, huge.
huge.
So I think if you turned one into a pickleball court, I think you know,
So then you'd have designated, this is tennis only, this is pickleball only, you know, I think you'd be better off.
Do you think we should do that to both?
I would. I
Or
would-
just one
Well-
park has 2 pickleballs and one park has 1 tennis and the other park has 2 tennis?
I think you should get
I
the
think we
option of
need-
both.
I think we need information about usage before we do that, because if you made designated pickleball on one, designated tennis on the other, you're probably gonna piss off at both sides.
Right, that's what I was saying, maybe we just do one tennis court at one park as 2 pickleball courts.
Is there any way we can survey our residents as to,
News.
hey, we
Well, yeah.
have this issue, you know, here's what we've done, we don't know what the usage is, tell us what your preferences are.
Yeah, we've talked about that, because that's one of the things that we're gonna do in the next newsletter, is
Okay.
actually send out
I
a monkey,
like that.
survey monkey, saying, you know, like, what kind of things do you wanna see in the park? What
But
kind
you
of
need to give them some
activities, what kind
suggestions
of,
too.
right,
Okay.
right, and that way we'll
Which
hopefully
part?
get some feedback.
All of them.
All of
What
them.
kind of things you want to see in your parks?
Well, you're
I
gonna
think
piss
that-
off all the passive park folks at Hopewell Meadows.
Yeah, that's commendable.
Yeah,
Okay.
I know 2 of the things that you hear a lot is the pickleball, additional pickleball,
yes.
and frisbee golf. You hear a lot of
Yeah,
frisbee.
but I don't think anybody
Did you
plays,
see
they
what
say
happened to
they
Devou
want it, but I
Park?
don't think anybody
Right.
plays
Did you see
it.
what happened to Devou
Yeah, I
Park?
know, they were stealing all the,
Well, they're ripping them out of the ground and $20,000, and they had a slush fund over there that replaced them, and then they ripped them out again.
I didn't hear about that.
Yeah.
Why would you rip the cages out, like to,
It's just,
Scrap?
So they can
Yeah.
take them home
No,
and
it's
put
just
them in your
vandalism.
yard.
They didn't steal them and take them to the scrapyard or anything. They just damaged them. Took them, ripped them out of the ground.
That
and
wouldn't happen in Symmes Township.
banged them up. Because it's secluded, in a sense. They had no cameras up or anything like that to catch the culprits. And they're out.
All right.
Roughly
So
40,000.
survey the residents
Mm-hmm.
about pickleball versus tennis.
Okay.
Yeah.
One
And what
of that.
other things?
Yeah.
And tell them what we got, and tell them how we got there, where we had 2 and 2, and we painted one court at each location, and then tell them what their preference, ask what the preference is. We'll be surprised, I think. It could go either way.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So we have some engineering that we still need to finish at Mead, and then, which I think, I don't know, they're probably done with that, right? The Mead drainage, because we're up there.
Yes,
All right.
we've already ordered.
Maybe we just haven't gotten all the bills yet.
Probably.
And then Seven Gables survey. So we're working on that so we can get our block grant done with that.
Well, the survey is for the walkway?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And then the surface, gator replacement, and then the Mead Park drainage improvements, which we approved at the last meeting. So do you know when Stiles and Son will be starting?
Weather permitting, he's hoping to start the 1st of February.
1st of February? Okay.
Just depends on how much rain we get between now and February.
Okay. And then these are things I put in 2024 because we don't have enough money to do all of them. So the National Fitness Campaign, so that's that outside gym / yoga surface. The slide that we've talked about doing at
It's pretty-
Symmes Park.
It's pretty expensive.
Yeah.
Super
The
expensive.
pond restoration at
Especially if we
Symmes
have more-
Park.
if
And
we have more
then
playground equipment
the
coming.
Camp Dennison landscaping, because, I mean, there's no point putting that in 2023 when we still need to figure out, like, I don't even know how long it's gonna take to go through the port process, so.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
While we're on that, can I back up and ask the question in the first sequence? We had $35,000 earmarked for Montgomery Road median landscaping.
Yep.
Is that a one-time thing, or is it going to continue to add? Is that going to do all of it, or?
Yeah, that'll do all of it, hopefully, and then we'll just have to we'll have to get quotes for somebody to maintain it.
Okay. Then the question becomes one of why 75,000 for Camp Dennison landscaping? That certainly doesn't
Because we
seem-
already have a bid for that one, so we know that it's gonna cost
It's
about
going to cost more than
75,000.
Montgomery Road?
Yeah, because
it's
of all the
large.
stuff.
It's lots of stuff. Plus you got all that, if you close off that road, you got benches
Yeah,
and
it's
things.
because
Well,
signs
the purchase
need to be-
price of the property included in
Because
that?
signs need to be fixed, you got a flagpole that needs to be moved, you've got flagstone pavers that need to be installed, you've got trees that need to be installed, bushes that need to be installed. What else was part of
Okay.
that?
Did you
I'm
say-
just-
Did you say benches?
I'm just
Benches.
surprised that when I'm thinking of extended all along Montgomery Road from,
But that's just landscaping.
Okay.
That's just plants.
Okay.
It's a lot more
Need some
activity going on at the triangle that they want.
well, isn't there a lot more stuff that would have to go to the Montgomery landscaping? Like
No, 'cause we're not-
like maintenance and watering and all that kind of?
Eventually, yes, that's what
Okay.
I'm saying, we'll have to get a bid for somebody to maintain it.
Okay. That's why I was asking if that was, do it all for
Oh, no.
35,000 or whether there's going to be some future expenditure.
Oh, yeah, there'll be future expenditure,
Okay.
but for that year, particular year, I mean, obviously, they're gonna install it and then they were gonna do a 1-year guarantee. So,
Okay. Well, I know road salt kills that stuff.
yeah,
So are we still in parks?
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm fine with going on.
Okay, I've got an idea.
okay.
Have to fasten your seatbelt.
You want me to?
Is it more than 170,000 for
This
national?
is just for
fitness campaign?
conversation.
Hmm?
It's just for conversation. I'd like to do a high-quality dog park at Royal Field.
Well, why don't you do a high-quality dog park behind where the nice play equipment is in that open field by where the pond is? There's enough room back there to do a high-quality dog park. not
Sim-
like Royal.
Symmes
Okay.
Park.
Symmes
I'm
Park.
open.
Jody, are you?
And Home of the
Park?
Brave.
Oh, Home of the Brave.
Home of the Brave behind our play set. You walk back over that little bridge and there's
That goes to the
the-
rail.
Oh,
You're right,
that
right,
little
right.
clearing on the other side of the
there's
pond.
plenty
Yeah,
room
I'm
for a
open.
high
I'm
quality
open.
dog park.
I just think
Oh, I
that
thought
Royal
was- I thought
Field,
that was a sled ride hill that we were gonna
Oh,
build.
it's never gonna get there. And it's just
We didn't
sits
save all the
there.
dirt.
I just think that Royal Field, we could do better there.
Well, I
with something.
agree.
Well,
Something.
are we
But I'm
gonna move-
open
are we gonna
as
move
far as the location.
The
for
box lacrosse is coming
high-quality
out of
dog
there?
park.
They already took the old one down and put a new one up.
Boy, I haven't been
That's
over
the
there in a
new-
while, I guess.
Yeah,
It
I
looks
agree.
like
We
the
could
old
do
one.
something better there. For sure.
Where they moved that to our meadows? They just
No.
took it.
Just
They-
replaced.
It's just replace to replace, that's all they did.
So it looks cleaner than it did.
No,
Not really, no.
no. Looks pretty much exactly the same.
They're gonna pressure wash it this spring, but that plastic, once it gets so much grit and grime and mold and mildew into the pores, it's hard to get everything out. So
Maybe you could
Well, I
do
don't
some
care about the
landscaping
inside of it
around
as much as I do the outside, which shows from the road, you know?
Yeah.
So, that was just an idea.
I think that's a
Loveland,
great idea.
Loveland has a nice dog park that's relatively new.
I saw it.
It's close to Little Miami River. But it's a big area.
With nothing there.
There's nothing there. They don't keep they have a porta potty there in the summer. They don't keep it there in the winter. And oh, by the way, the area, it's a big kind of a hill, like a big valley, if you will, and it's extremely muddy. I mean, if there's any rain or moisture,
It's flat.
yeah.
No
it's-
runoff, okay.
Yeah. Other places like, of course, Blue Ash has Summit Park. That-
Yes.
You're taking your life in your hands if you walk in that dog park. I mean, it's
Don't
a
they have-
free-for-all.
don't
I
they
think
have
those
two
dogs
different-
are all cooped up in apartments all day, and then they come out and they just, they
All
go
the
berserk.
apartments or condos that are around that park, first choice, right?
Yep.
But don't they have it broken up into two different, small dogs and large dogs?
Yep.
Yeah.
But it's, anyways, I just think there's a need. I think that we could do something pretty cool.
if we did a dog park, we would actually have to divide it in half where you could shut one half off so it could be maintained
Yeah.
and let the grass grow back and open the other, just rotate it to where it wouldn't all just go to
Well,
mud.
dogs like to dig holes.
Right.
And as a result, an ankle.
Or
ankle
if you
breakers
really went to the dog park, you'd make it all turf and you'd have your problem solved. Because they do make a new pet turf,
Okay.
which is really nice.
I would like the
I think
turf,
the idea,
pet
the
turf.
idea has merit,
Self-cleaning, or
and
do you
then
have to-
study
okay.
where it would be the best location.
Yeah, okay, just throwing it out there.
Okay.
The Royals would be a nice place because you'd have to redo the drainage
Well-
anyway. If you're putting turf in,
Oh, yeah.
you'd
I was gonna say, 'cause that,
you'd eliminate the problem.
that's flat and not retained.
I think
It's got
that
lots
is-
of sunlight
Sports field could go
if the
there.
sun's out.
Our turf sports field, multi-purpose.
Okay.
You could rent it out, make money off of it.
Oh, turf is it.
I know. I talked about that a long time ago, but I didn't get any teeth.
And that location, there's also, we talked for years, there's already a sewer tap there. If you did put a restroom in, there's water and sewer taps already there.
Nice.
So you-
On
it's-
Royal?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that guy on septic? The Royal?
Years ago he was, but then when they extended the line down, we put a tap in.
There you
Do
go.
we have to pay for that one too?
We worked it in the deal.
Okay.
Water and sewer.
That MSD sewer line he's saying is at Royal. I wanted to know if we had to pay for that. He said
Yes,
they
we
worked it in.
always have to pay, Ken.
No, I wanted to know if the Royals had it installed before we bought the
Oh,
property
okay,
from them.
yeah.
And he said, no, they worked it into
Yeah, we
the
worked
sale
it in the
price.
deal.
Okay.
Okay, so we're at the bottom of page 1 now.
Yeah.
We're out of parks.
Yep.
Wow.
So going on to safety services levy, obviously we had the Prodigy project that got put on hold. I guess the concrete orders kept getting canceled. And then, so that's not scheduled to start, what, in March
Spring,
hopefully?
yep.
In the spring. And then same for the painting of the interior, so the safety service center, that got put on hold. The crew got COVID. And so they had to kind of push that back. Let's see, We've got preemption devices plugged in for Loveland Madeira, so we'll just
Stop.
wait for Ott to.
How many? That's about 10 grand a piece, right?
I don't know. Originally, they talked about doing 3. So the one at Kemper, the one at Cottonwood, and the
okay.
one at Lebanon.
Okay, those are all Symmes.
Right, and splitting them. And then I don't know if Loveland would do 3 more in another location. I'm not really sure.
So,
And-
so what's on, want down towards Remington?
Well, that's what we were
Madeira Road?
talking internally. Bill and I were talking about, like, if you're gonna do them on Loveland Madeira Road, you might as well do them all the way down to Remington. So I had plugged in 70,000 for that, because I think that there's 2 more lights, so that's 3 lights there, plus there's 2 more lights at Loveland Madeira, correct? And then you've got 1 more light
At Remington.
at Remington,
Yeah, 7.
so 7 lights total?
Is that right?
6 lights,
And if
7
we-
lights?
That counts 6.
If we could work the
Okay.
deal where
Okay.
they would
All
pay
right,
their
I
portion.
just wanted to know where we were, because I thought we were gonna split something with Lebanon. They're going the other way then, from Lebanon Road all the way up towards downtown Lebanon.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
all right.
Okay.
So, but we'll just wait for Ott to tell us, like, what they've got in mind. Then I've got the fire engine on there, and then just his normal stuff, the fire hose, the MDC replacements, radios, rescue equipment, IT upgrades. His turnout gear, we already approved at the last meeting. We've got window replacement at Remington, and then we always do some parking lot maintenance at the safety service center.
Okay. I'll wait.
And then I haven't driven by here in a while, so that's why I'm asking. I'm assuming everything's been taken away, like all the garbage and the dumpsters from the lot that we bought
Yes.
out in front?
The only thing we have to
Okay.
do is actually finish grading the thing and get rid of the
Stumps
stumps.
out?
Okay.
We're working on the stumps.
Okay. What's
So-
the plan for that?
Well, right now, we're just gonna plant grass seed when they're done.
Okay.
So in the spring, we'll just plant grass seed, and it'll be a,
That would be great
And we don't have
to
to cut
put
it.
more parking there, so that if we ever put the extension on for the township hall or something over there, you'd come out to where some of the parking is now. That place is really limited on parking.
it is limited on parking.
So I can see us using that purchased property to pave it, go ahead and pave it.
Eventually, yes.
Okay. Put that on your tick file.
Okay, and then under EMS is just the general, sometimes we buy EMS equipment, and then we have our EMS supplies. Under TIF, we have a couple engineering services that we have left open, so LJB still has stuff left on there for the Hopewell Bridge, and then Choice One has a number, so they have the Union Cemetery sidewalks, the Snyder Road sidewalks,
Okay.
and then.
On Snyder Road. Wait, did you go past that? The Andal fence for Snyder Road?
I'm on engineering, so it's engineering.
Oh, above,
The
okay.
above.
Okay. Yep,
There's just some open purchase orders that we still have, so that's some money we have left over from those.
okay.
And then the street sweeper, we already talked about.
Yep.
And then we've got sidewalks for Snyder, which I have no
What
idea
about the
when we would
Vandal
do those.
fence? You were gonna talk to ODOT about that.
Yeah, they still haven't answered me.
Like, I drive by on 71 is, what's the bike trail? It was the railroad that they converted to the bike trail. What the heck is that called?
Loveland Bike?
That is, no, 71.
Okay.
Lawson Trail.
Thank you, Lawson Way.
Oh, that's.
So-
that's-
Oh, yeah, I know
So
what
it's a
Lawson.
converted
Yeah, I know
train
that.
bridge
Yes.
on 71, and it's just standard chain link. That's all it is, standard chain link, and
Okay.
there's just
Big letters.
a
It says
sign that
Wasson-
says Wasson Way
It says Wasson
in
Line.
both directions. I mean,
Okay.
it couldn't be any simpler, and it looks really nice because they painted the bridge blue. The whole color scheme is blue.
And
Okay.
you can walk over the bridge? Is there cars?
No, that's the
bike trail.
bike trail.
A bike
Oh,
trail?
you can walk and jog, yes.
So who maintains that bridge, just so I'm just asking? Would that be ODOT that maintains that?
I would
I
think.
assume so,
It's
because
over an
Okay.
interstate highway, so I would.
And what'd you call it again?
Wasson Way.
W-A-S-S-O-N.
So it's just basic chain link fence. It's not
Okay.
even, it doesn't look like it's even plastic
Does
covered.
it get a curve?
I think when the railroad abandoned that, they turned it over to the city.
Yeah,
So
the
I don't
railroad
think-
abandoned it.
I don't think it's an ODOT bridge. I think it's a city bridge.
That's why I was asking, because if
And
it's not,
it's a pedestrian bridge and not a traffic bridge, that's why.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying, we were going to ask, because what made Snyder and Hopewell, both, these two breweries, we can talk about them at the same time, what made them expensive is that we're talking about all this custom fencing.
Yes.
But in my mind, what, I wasn't so, personally, I wasn't so concerned about the fencing. I was concerned about getting our logo up there.
Right.
And we can put our logo just on new chain link fence. I mean, whatever they do, it's gonna be new. So we can put up new chain link fence if we need to cost share with that. Okay, maybe we might be open to that, but you know, what have we gotta do to put the logo on both sides,
And
on both bridges?
wasn't part of the cost the decorative stamped concrete?
no, that's a standard,
Is it? Okay.
standard. I don't know what they
Option.
call it. Yeah, on the bridge itself. So we've got that ashlar timber that's gonna be on the bridge. But it was the vandal fence itself that was gonna cost exponentially. I mean, obviously, ODOT would have paid for a third of it, like of what the regular fence would have cost them, and then we would have had to pay above that.
Right.
But they wouldn't, they just never got back to me on, so I guess I'll have to follow up with them.
Is that ship sailed?
No? They
I
haven't
don't
built the
think
bridge
so,
yet.
because they're gonna start that bridge project. I think she told me that it's gonna start February 1st. They're gonna start on Cooper Road first. So they're gonna do Cooper Bridge replacement, and so that's gonna start maybe mid-March, and it's supposed to be done by the beginning of June. And then our bridge is gonna start in June and be done by October 31st. That's the plan.
Okay.
Trying to think of what.
So we have time.
And Hopewell's 24, right?
Yeah.
So at this point, Snyder doesn't have a sidewalk on, or they're going to put it on
They're going to
Sycamore's
put it
side.
on.
Put it on
They're
Sycamore
going to put it on
side.
Sycamore's side, okay. So with the sidewalk comes the vandal fence,
Right. Yeah, they have to put the vandal fence up.
yeah.
But
So
it's
we
just
wouldn't be
was-
on the hook for the vandal fence, we're just trying to pay for
Right.
logo
Signage.
signs on it.
Signage.
Right.
So you just do standard vandal fence and put the logo on it.
Vandal fence is only on one side, isn't it? The sidewalk side?
No, it's on both sides.
Okay, has it got a curve on the top of it or something?
No, I think it's just gotta be a certain height. If you've
Okay.
got sidewalks, it's gotta be what, 12 feet
Something like
high
that.
or something on the
Okay.
sidewalk side and 8 feet high on the side that does not have sidewalk.
Okay.
Yeah, so Sycamore should be on the hook for the fence. We just want to put our sign on there, both sides.
Well, if it's just gonna put the normal fence on it, Sycamore isn't gonna be on
Yeah,
the hook for
Sycamore
it
wouldn't
all.
have to pay any of it, it would just be
They don't pay
ODOT.
any.
But, and then we would pay for our logo, it's just all
Yeah,
a matter
It's
of
only the custom crap.
how do you attach it.
Right, right.
So if we're not paying for vandal fence, it shouldn't be expensive.
No, it would just be for our logo.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know if they could actually attach it to the fence or if it would have to be attached to the bridge itself.
To the
I don't
fence.
know,
Well,
I'd have to ask.
They
Yeah, they
already
do it
had
to
the
the fence.
plans for the logo as attached to the exotic fence.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's just a logo, we'll look at where it fits.
Yeah.
I
So
don't
do you have a
know.
contact
I think
there?
it's big enough that it wouldn't fit on the concrete itself. It would have to go on the fence.
Yeah. Are you talking to
Right.
somebody in particular?
I talked to LJB, who, and then they posed the question to ODOT, because I saw the email, and then that person never responded to LJB.
But do you know who that person is?
I'd have to go back and look through my emails. I don't
Okay.
know if it's Ben or if it's,
Okay.
trying to think of the other gentleman that I was dealing with. Tom, maybe?
Tommy?
Yeah, I don't know if it was him.
Okay.
Yeah, let's pursue that. If you want me to help make a phone call, I'm happy to.
Okay. So then at some point I don't know when the sidewalks for Snyder, I was hoping that maybe we could do them at the same time that Silver Spring House does sidewalks in front of theirs, so that it's all just one big project, but
They're gonna do sidewalks in front of theirs?
if they make improvements to their property, they will be required to put in sidewalks.
Good.
Okay.
Yes.
Because that'll prevent them from parking on
Parking
the
there,
grass.
Right.
Yes.
So if we don't have a sidewalk on our side of the bridge, why are we considering this?
To make it safer for those people on that side of our side to walk down to Silver Spring House, and then they can cross right there at Kemper and then cross up if they want to.
So that would actually give the residents in Kemper Woods and Hamiltonian access to the
But
sidewalks
it's
to
only-
Kemper and Montgomery Road.
It's only gonna go to there, right?
Right, so
It's not gonna
Hamiltonian.
go up to the bridge.
No, they would stop right at
Yeah,
Hamiltonian,
we'll stop right at Hamiltonian.
which those people could come down
But
Snyder.
couldn't you
and go
get
the
a
other direction.
crosswalk? Oh, that's probably too dangerous.
No, they won't
there.
let us do mid-block crosswalks. That's that whole thing that, remember, we've gone through that. with-
So
That's
what is the point of Sycamore having the sidewalk on their side? I mean, what are they gonna do with it?
They told.
CHCA.
Yeah, they told that ODOT is because of the school.
But honestly, if you look at it, we probably have more people going to CHCA on that side because that side is more retirement, older people versus our side, which is more families.
And
Yeah,
it
plus
was-
we have more residents because I already did that count with cages.
Yeah.
Yeah, we tried. I mean, we sat through a call and they just,
They didn't care
they're gonna put them on the Sycamore side, so.
because Sycamore asked first.
Yeah, I
Yes.
didn't even know it was an option.
That's what it boiled down to.
Yeah.
It cuts down on not even to have a crosswalk.
Yeah, because they gave us such a hard way to go on the Hopewell one that I gave up. Like, I didn't even know it was an ask. And then until Tracy told me, yeah, we're getting sidewalks. I'm like, okay.
Well, that's the
Okay.
only time you can
Well, they
have
won't be used, which is really stupid.
Okay.
Okay.
So then
Union
sidewalks on
Cemetery.
Union Cemetery, we talked to the lodge. The lodge isn't really, I don't think, amenable to paying for their portion of the sidewalk. So unless you guys can convince Loveland, I just don't think it's ever gonna happen.
It's a sidewalk to nowhere. right?
Yeah.
We talked about from Antietam, there's sidewalks in there for a ways until you get to a couple of houses that were new built and they didn't have sidewalks in front of them, but that's all Symmes. If we could run that up, we talked once upon a time to run that sidewalk up until to Carrington or thereabouts.
Well, there's two lots right there in front of Carrington that you'll have to stop because those are the city of Loveland.
Okay. That's,
So you'd have to pick up, like, you know where they're building that new house down here? On Union Cemetery, from there to Antietam is where you could pick up, some sidewalk.
okay.
But then you'd have to skip until you get to the lodge entrance, the second lodge, or was there two entrances right there, or just one?
There's Lodge Care Center.
And,
Yeah, so you'd have to skip until you get to the houses across the street.
okay.
And then you can pick up from there, and then you take it to our curved piece, and then you'd have to stop again, skip
on-
the lodge, and then you'd have to go all the way up to Speedway to pick up the next.
Yeah, on the other side of the street, there's a Loveland because of the industrial park and everything else, so that's a
Right.
no-go. All right, so that one's a big question, if it'll ever.
I don't
be
think
done.
it's ever gonna happen unless you guys can convince the elected officials in Loveland to spend money on it, because their viewpoint is it doesn't really help any of their residents.
Which we-
Except
I
for, except for the lodge residents. Those are the only people that it would, but even though I still disagree, I see people walking in front of this building and across the street all the time. I see it every day.
Well, now that you did away with the estate tax and so on and so forth, there's no real incentive for Loveland to do anything there. Because they annexed the lodge because of the state tax.
That's it. The only thing you could do is maybe talk to the lodge and see if they'd be interested in doing the sidewalks as an assessment.
Yeah, but the thing is we can't do
No,
the
I mean, it had to go
assessment.
through the city of Loveland.
Yeah,
as an
and
assessment.
that's what I offered the city. I told them either you can pay for it, or you can try to get donations, or you can do an assessment. You would just need to assess those 3 or 4 properties, because you gotta assess the furniture place, then you gotta assess the lodge and the care center, and then those 2 other lots. But he said he was not gonna, wasn't their priority.
Okay.
So I just don't think that's ever gonna happen. Sidewalks, Fields, Earl Snyder, that is part of the let's see, Union Cemetery. That is part of the project on Fields Erdel that Warren County is doing, so they should be starting that. Have you heard anything from them on that project?
They should have already started, but
That's what I thought.
They should have already been doing
I haven't
it.
heard a peep out of them over that project, so.
Fields Erdel and where?
From Schneider all the way to 71.
Okay.
Yeah,
The
so
wide
I see
project.
people
Is
walking
that
on
where
that
Red
all
Wing
the
Shoes
time.
is?
So that's where they're gonna widen it to 5 lanes.
Okay.
And they're supposed to do sidewalks from the entrance of Paul Meadows up to the intersection of Fields Erdel, and then from Fields Erdel down to the Red Wing, like in that parking lot.
Is Warren County putting sidewalks on their side?
Yes,
Okay.
Deerfield
So it's
Township
gonna
is
be on both
doing
sides?
that. Yep.
Okay. All right.
And
So-
Warren County's supposed to be in charge of that project.
So are the sidewalks on our side part of that project and then we reimburse them? Or do we have to build the sidewalks ourselves?
No, they're gonna incorporate it as part of their project, but we just have to give them money for it.
That's what, yeah.
Like, we deposit money with them, however that works. I don't know if it's a reimbursement kind of thing, but we even might have to pay them up front, and then they do the project, I guess, based on whatever bids they get.
Montgomery Road.
So that's Paul Meadows to Red Wing Shoes
Yep.
is what you just described. And
Yep.
then the second 3 line items down.
Yep.
Fields Erdel, Mason Montgomery to Montgomery, that we would build that ourselves?
Yeah, so that's the one we just got with the sort of funds.
Okay, can I speak to that for a second?
Mm-hmm.
If McCluskey goes in, isn't he gonna put sidewalks along that
Yes, he
side?
will have
So that
to-
would detract from what we'd have to do?
Yeah, so Tire Discounters is gonna have to do their spot because they've already bought the old White Castle. They've already got a zoning permit for that, so
Okay.
they're committed. They have to put sidewalks in on their part.
Okay,
And then if McCluskey goes in with their development plan, they're gonna have to put sidewalks in their whole length
so
from,
this 475, does that reflect that, or it could be
no, it
less
could
than
be
that?
less than that.
Okay, all right.
Or it could be more depending on if the bids come in high.
Yeah.
It just all depends.
Okay.
We could do it to where if none of those have gone yet and we do ours first, we could do it to where they just have to contribute to us so that we're in charge of all of it. And then they just pay us for their portion. We could do it like that too. That way it's just all one contractor and, you know, we have say over it.
Okay.
So that one's going in 2020. So we'll have to bring the engineering back on that one. It's either gonna be in February or March. Wes is getting us a cost to do the engineering for it. And then we'll do that this year and then hopefully do the project next year.
Okay. What's your thinking on fire engine 61 replacement? 163,000 didn't go very far.
Well, it's 500,000 coming out of the safety service levy.
Oh, okay. I
And
didn't see
then
that.
163,867 coming out of the TIF.
5 what?
500,000 even coming out of the safety service levy. And then 163,867 coming out of the TIF.
Okay.
So we skipped over addition to service building.
Yep, so that goes with, down here with ARPA. So the 836,725 will be paid out of the ARPA funds, and then the remainder, whatever's left over, is gonna come out of the TIP fund.
And this is for the truck wash.
Yeah, for the building back here.
Okay.
837.
And then I plugged in 400,000 for the vandal fence on Hopewell. 'Cause I'm hoping the steel prices come down, but you just never know.
Let me ask you a question. If we end up relocating administration to the safety service center
Area.
zone, then would that change our layout with the service building?
No.
If this was all up for grabs? No?
No, I think it was an addition out the back, wasn't it?
Yeah, he just wants it right behind, I mean, well, if this building goes, then you could probably push it up some. It just depends. That way he wouldn't have to go into the heliport in the back. I mean, you could just have, you know, pavement behind the building where you could come out both sides. I guess you could do it that way.
Just throwing it out there.
For
Because
future.
once we build this, it's not going to change.
Right. We got a layout for it, what this building is, right?
Yeah, it was just kind of like right off the corner of this building, I think.
Yeah. gonna have to execute that plan and then see what we do with this building if and when we get a new addition over over at the Fire Safety Service Center, whatever it's called.
I mean, you technically could move over to the Safety Service Center now until something was built if you wanted to incorporate this building into that.
Yeah.
I mean, there is room over there.
Yeah, we could make it work if we had to.
Okay.
So then, let's see, under the Skeets Humphrey, we finished that in 2022. And then, of course, the street sweeper, the playground, and the addition to the building.
Right.
So I didn't know if there was any other projects you guys were thinking, like you want to add to the list for 2023, 2024, so that we can adequately plan for them.
I have a question, I think I know the answer.
We
The
can
Belong
talk about
Road,
that.
Belong Park consolidation, is that under the
Some really cool ones to get some.
blanket for choice one?
Yeah,
You said we had a bunch of projects.
we already paid for the Long Road consolidation. It's a whole long story with that. So Long Road, they originally told me that the consolidation couldn't be done because a bunch of pieces were owned by Hamilton County. Well, it turns out that all of the work you guys did back in
Yeah,
2005?
whatever. When we vacated Belong Road,
Yeah.
okay.
None of that stuff was ever transferred. Yeah, none of it was ever transferred. So all of those pieces still reflect the fact that they're owned by Hamilton County.
Okay,
So Rokina has been talking to Dennis, a guy that works at I don't know if he works for the county engineer, or if he works for,
County engineer.
so she's been talking to Dennis. So there is a piece that never got transferred, and it was obviously, there was already a resolution passed that said it was gonna go from Hamilton County to Symmes. But for whatever reason, somebody dropped the ball and it just never happened.
Okay.
So Dennis is now working on getting that piece before the commissioners to get that deed. Rokina's gonna do the deed, and then we'll get that transferred over.
okay.
Then what we're gonna do is just go ahead and consolidate all the pieces that are, then will be under Symmes at that moment in time, and go ahead and get that filed and done. So then there's one more piece that's still labeled Hamilton County, it's parcel 422, that is this long sliver, and it was never, I guess that was never under consideration to give to us. However, I had Rokina pose the question to Dennis, why does the county need that? They don't maintain it, we maintain it. You guys made us replace the bridge, so why can't we just have the piece? You guys just give it to us.
Well, they paid for the bridge.
What's that?
They paid for the bridge.
No, we paid for the bridge.
That, we were reimbursed for that bridge,
For
right?
part of it, but
Part
we
of it
paid, we
is
forked over
grant.
$100,000 to replace that bridge.
Okay.
It wasn't,
So Dennis is now looking into having the county commissioners pass a resolution to do parcel 422, which would get us contiguous to parcel
Gotcha.
90, which is at the corner. And then once we get those two parcels, then we can wrap the whole thing up together,
Gotcha.
file a new DTE form, and then we will no longer have to pay taxes on any of it.
Got it.
Good idea.
Okay. That missing piece was opposite the substation then, right?
No, yeah, opposite on the other side.
That was
against
the other half of the street that, by vacating that whole thing, the substation got half to the middle of the road, and the other half on the other side, I
Right.
thought would have belonged to someone else that we'd have to pay for.
That's one of the pieces that was never transferred to us, and it was supposed to be transferred to us.
But
It's
did we-
another piece beyond that I'm talking about.
Okay.
It goes from Symmes Gateway up to the Duke piece.
Got it. Okay.
which
No
was still
one-
county right away.
Right.
Okay.
But my whole thing is, why does the county need it? We maintain it. We had to pay, you made us pay for the bridge. Why don't you just give it to us? And then then we can do our consolidation, and we won't have to pay that $3,000 tax bill that we've been paying. So, that we can't use anyway, because it's a big gully.
Any other discussion on projects? Do you have what you
think
need from
so.
us?
Yes, I just didn't know if you guys had any other things that you you know, I know things change and, you know, we'll try to work the best we can, and then we'll continue to work on the rest of that playground at Seven Gables on the other half, and we'll see if, you know, if Ott can do the fire truck. I don't know if you, did you get a hold of Sheriff McGuffey to see if she would?
Yeah, I think we can get it out of DARE money.
Okay. And then maybe we'll work on the post office. I know the chamber is looking to contribute to a project in Symmes,
Oh, that would be good.
so that might be a good,
You could do a library.
That's what I was thinking, library,
okay.
because we are the biggest library.
We are,
And
Yeah.
most
Most
used
used.
branch.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Most used, period. We have more use than the main library downtown.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Pretty interesting.
so then, just so you know too, like, what I did is we put together this blanket purchase order thing, so this is a guide you guys can actually look at and see, like, we're just not trying to make up these numbers as we go, but it's just like based on the numbers from last year into this year, this kind of gives you a little snippet of, here's all the purchase orders, all these big stack you had to sign
Yep.
right there.
Yep.
So this is all the blankets and all the different purchase orders, and then it'll even tell you what is left over in that account. So, you know, when we talked about contracted services for the parks, if you flip to page 6 and going on to page 7, you can start to see, like, under contracted services, you know, we budgeted $130,000, and of course we took some out for Haddocks, Rumpke, Ace Exterminating, Elite Fire Services, and then Jones Fish and Stiles and Sons. What we have, and then we have a blanket for 5, so we have left over $91,200. So we will have to figure out, you know, between mowing and lawn care and things like to that nature, we have to figure out how to make that work with $91,000. So, and if we can't make it work, then that's when we'll have to cut back on what we do.
Question.
Yep.
We pay Jones Fish to stock Symmes Pond, right?
And Home of the Brave,
Okay,
and,
now whoever, oh, okay. The
and
one
it's
in the
also
back.
pond
Thank you,
maintenance.
thank you. All right.
Yeah.
Answered my own question.
Sometimes we have them, they fix things for us from time to
Anybody
time
fish
when
back
we.
here anymore?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I was thinking
Put
detention, retention
bass
pond or something,
this
for
year,
some
bass.
reason.
Yeah,
And
that's,
I said, why are we stocking that? But
Will
then
you text me
I
when you
remembered the
put
big
bass
lake
where we
pond
put
back in the
bass?
back.
Yep,
with our new contract with ODNR, we'll be working with them because they'll be helping us stock, so that'll be some of the savings. That's one of the requests we've already made.
Yes.
so anyway, I just wanted you to be aware of that, and then that kind of goes into like this other sheet. This kind of gives you a breakdown of all our contracted services for the year for 2022. And basically, you can see that we encumbered over almost $6.5 million just in contracted services. So, and then the different funds as it breaks down. Obviously, our biggest contract is for fire service. But you
Oh,
can begin
okay.
to see,
Police and fire.
like, over half our budget is contracted services.
Okay.
And I think that should be it, unless anybody else has any other questions or anything they want to bring up. Joe, I didn't know if you wanted to talk, I know you had concerns about the mowing, so I didn't know if you wanted to contribute toward that, since we already had that conversation before you got here. Did you want to add anything to the contracted services for mowing? Because we already talked about all that stuff before you got here, and I know you had concerns about it.
Well, what I don't have a good handle on is, you know, I know what it costs us for mowing, but what I don't know is how much would we save if we, because we have the equipment, right, that we need to do some of that mowing ourselves. The biggest headaches that probably have to stay as contracted are the cemeteries.
Right.
But other than that, the parks, the rights of way, stuff like that, we already have all the equipment to do that. And what I haven't seen or been able, you know, I don't, or haven't explored is what would it cost us to do that ourselves? Does that require an additional employee? Or can that be done with existing employment levels? compared to what we're paying contract services. It just seems like to me that we spend a lot of money on fertilizing and feeding trees, and I don't know what trees those are, but we've got a hell of a lot of trees in.
When we
If you
talk,
look at this sheet, it shows you like all the different parks and the different right-of-ways. And it shows you on there too, how many employees it would take and how many hours it would take. And then it's a cost breakdown. Now this is only based on 26 cuts.
Yeah.
But like I was telling them earlier, if you look to the left-hand side, on total cost for us, it was like $101,000 for us to do it, but that's minus the cemeteries, because we've never cut the cemeteries.
Right.
So if you look over to the right, under 2022 and 2021, we've spent, it's probably more than that, but we spent $131,690, but that's at 26 cuts, so we did everything at 30. So it was probably like more like 150 is what we really spent on contracted services for mowing.
So from that, you're projecting that we're gonna save how much by doing it ourselves?
I don't think we really save any money doing it ourselves, it's all the time. Now, we would have to hire employees.
Yeah, but
There's
I'm
no
saying-
way that we can do it this based on the number of employees we have right now.
But I mean, if you have to hire X number of employees, one or more,
Right,
to pick up that mowing, that's not the only thing that employee is going to be doing.
correct.
So you have an employee to not only mow, but to be used, whether it's in the parks or on the roads or anything like that.
Right.
So in essence, you would be saving money.
Yeah, especially if you had entry-level people doing most of the grass cutting. Obviously, yeah, you would save money at that
Yeah.
point.
And I guess I don't have a good handle on who makes the decision and when was the decision made to do what I see as a lot of fertilizing of trees and treating trees, and I don't know what they're treating them for.
That program started,
Trees or something like that.
that program started years ago when the ash borer kicked in.
Yeah.
I mean, like we talked earlier before you got here, we could actually cut that program down to every other year and hope that I mean,
But the
I
problem
would-
is the bugs, apparently the bug population
Plus, yeah, but
has
you-
tripled.
Are those saving the
Because
trees,
the
or are they
bats
simply delaying the
feed
time
bugs and
that
the bats
would have to take them down?
so far it has actually improved the trees that we've treated. I mean, but there's nothing to say that we couldn't go to every other year.
Yeah,
And hopefully, I mean, anything you do is a gamble,
yeah.
but at least we're putting forth an effort to try.
Yeah, but I haven't seen reports on the efficacy of treating for that parasite. In my experience, at least in our neighborhood, the neighbors that treat their trees for that eventually lose the trees. You're keeping the trees for a while, but you're gonna lose the trees. You're not gonna save the tree, you're not gonna end up with a healthy tree, you're just delaying the inevitable. And to me, I don't know that I'd wanna spend money on that, if I had that tree in my yard.
Well, I
See,
think
and
the
I
way
don't know
we,
what else is encompassed under that type of expenditure, whether it's just the ash borer or are there other things?
there's multiple trees. I mean, I think we can dig out the last bill that we had.
Yeah.
But it listed all the different trees and then what parks they were in. So there's some that are, you've got, elm trees, you've got ash trees, you've got there's a whole
So it-
host of trees.
It's for the insects, for root stimulation, and for growth, control of growth, because you don't want the trees to, if they grow too fast, they don't have enough strength to maintain themselves. It's something that we could look into either every other year or slowly just phasing it out. I mean, I wouldn't want to drop it all at once because I think it'd be, shock to the trees, but if you slowly phase that, you're right. I mean, is it going to make those trees last 10 years longer than they would, because everything has a lifespan.
Right.
So I mean, it's only gonna, you know, I think the reason we started was to put forth an effort to hopefully eliminate the spread. And to be honest with you, we haven't really seen a whole lot of,
Because the argument could be made that you're better off simply replacing that tree with a variety that isn't susceptible to that parasite.
and
Or
now
that
there's so
is
many,
more vigorous in our.
now there's so many
environment.
different varieties of
Yeah.
bugs that are invading. I mean, you're never gonna stop it.
Yeah, because I mean, I look at our parks like, not for this year, next year, 5 years. This is forever.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to go on past me and most other people, so.
I see both sides of it. I see the, you know, wanting to help preserve, but then again,
Yeah, but I think there's room to save some money.
right.
I think the way we left it is that Bill and I will come up with a suggested plan, maybe with different alternatives, and then you guys can just pick what you want to, you know, we can bid it out, and then we can pick from the alternatives and see if there's any room for savings. I know that we had told Jody that we would look at maybe doing some prairie, and was it Symmes and Mead?
Gonna try to identify some areas that we don't
Yeah,
have to
that we
mow.
don't have to mow.
Can we call the Cincinnati Nature Center, because they actually
We'll come out and tell you.
come out and tell you
Okay.
what the best places for that is.
Okay.
Okay, anything else? So that wraps up new business, right?
Yep.
So I move, go into executive session per ORC Section 121.22 G1 to consider the compensation and employment of a public employee or official.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Bryan?
Aye.
Ms. Lees?
Aye.
Mr. Beck?
Aye. And will there be action after executive session?
Probably not.
Okay, so we're good to go. All right, thank you.